What are people thinking, and why is this happening? Hello to everybody out there again, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about living in Japan, traveling, and things like that. So today, not as fun of a topic, but I felt like it's very important to talk about. I wanted to give an update of what it's like living and working in Japan during COVID. Maybe you have seen on the news that Japan is not doing well at all right now. We're in another state of emergency that was declared about 2 weeks ago in April, and they just decided to extend it today until the end of May, so it's been extended. And yeah, we can just talk a little bit about the current events, what's going on, what work is like, some news about the Olympics, and news about vaccinations, and why that's going so slow. So, yeah, cases in Japan now are at a high. So you can see here in January 2021, there were about 5,000 new cases per day, and now, this time, we have about that same number. So this is the worst COVID's ever been. This is the new strain that's going around. And not only that, Osaka and Hyogo are getting hit hard. The hospital bed occupancy rate in my prefecture in Hyogo is about 78%. And in Osaka, it's so bad that Tokyo and Aichi are offering to take patients, and nurses from the military have been called into Osaka to help with the overflowing amount of patients going into the hospitals. They just can't take patients. And while this is all happening, Tokyo is still contemplating having the Olympics and taking in tens of thousands of athletes and helpers into the country. That's crazy! State of emergency was declared, so what that means is the government said restaurants cannot serve alcohol. Restaurants have to close by 8 p.m., which is useless. How is that going to help COVID stop? Like, I think people will still go out, and once they end the state of emergency, people will go out again, and then we're just going to continue this cycle of state of emergency, it ends, people go out, get sick, state of emergency, it ends. So there has to be some sort of enforcement or putting a foot down in actual limitations on things. Talking about the vaccine rollout is very slow. It is very, very slow. I'm kind of watching the US now and seeing how, what is it, almost every day it's like about 30,000 people at least are vaccinated, but in Japan about only 1% of the population has been vaccinated. And let's take a look at why I looked into that. There are numerous articles talking about how Japan is lagging severely behind vaccination rates of the developed world. So, according to the Japan Times, the article is saying Japan's slow rollout stems from several factors. The nation has a history of vaccine skepticism, dating back to an unproven scare about the safety of MMR shots in the 1990s, which made officials tread cautiously. The co-chair of Healthcare Committee at the American Chamber of Commerce for Japan says, quote, "The delay in rolling out vaccines has made us question how advanced Japan is in the context of adopting new technologies or accelerating even the development of Japan-originated innovation." From what I've seen, this sounds very, very accurate. Very slow. Japan's being very slow and isn't really that good at innovating or adapting to kind of challenging times like this. So the vaccine rollout, I really wish it was faster. Of course, there's probably a lot of things that people have to organize to get the vaccine going, but it's incredibly slow. There's only 1 out of 100 people that have been vaccinated, and there are a lot of vaccines available. They're just not being distributed. So I think that's very important. So next topic, the Olympics. So the Olympics are happening as of now, which I think is a very, very bad idea. There's no economic benefit. Foreigners aren't going to come in. Foreigners aren't going to stay. Foreigners aren't going to spend money. I read an article that said Japanese locals here might not even be able to go either. So there really is no point. Like, the athletes won't be watched by many people. It's putting people in danger by bringing in tens of thousands of, athletes and their entourages coming in. So there's really no reason for the Olympics to be held this year. This is a terrible, terrible idea. This is very bad. So let's take a look at some news articles I found and talk a little bit about that. According to the Japan Times, 63% of Japanese are opposed to holding the Olympic Games, while 33% are for it. There have been multiple protests, including the Stop Tokyo Olympics campaign, which collected 200,000 signatures in the first 2 days of being organized. In addition to this, the tens of thousands of athletes and their entourages coming over to Japan are not required to get vaccines while coming in, which is devastating. So, you might be wondering, what the are people thinking, and why is this happening? Well, I looked again in the Japan Times article, and it said the IOC essentially needs the revenue and is pushing for it. So, it's all about the money. The Olympics themselves are pushing for it because they need the money. And last, working during COVID. This is probably one of the most frustrating aspects of this I've seen. I get the sense a lot of Japan kind of going on and ganbattering on, and people just kind of trying their hardest, but also having their head in the sand a little bit and just acting like everything is normal and everything is okay. We've been working in person in the schools since the beginning of May 2020. And yeah, there are a few instances where teachers would tell us that a few students had COVID, they were diagnosed with it, so they were isolated at home, which is great, but who knows how many other students have it? Who knows? There are a lot of news reports of like clusters, but the news reports don't say where or what school. They don't say specifics, so it's very secretive because there's a privacy policy that is kind of implemented here. There's a law about that, so they can't share. But yeah, working in COVID in person, I feel like a lot of tools are not being utilized, like Zoom or Skype. I'm seeing a lot of other countries being able to actually utilize that and put both the students and the teachers in a safer environment. I'm not really seeing why we can't do that. I know Hyogo doesn't have a lot of money, but I've personally taken classes on Zoom. It worked. It was fine, so I don't see really why we can't utilize Google Classrooms. Every teacher in Hyogo, in the area I live, has Google Classrooms, if I'm not mistaken, so why are we not using this? Why are we not using Google Classrooms? And why are we still going in to interact with hundreds of kids a day during a pandemic? I don't know. I know everyone's trying their best, but I think everyone's trying a little too hard. So we should, I think, work for the safety of other people instead of just acting like everything's fine here. I think Japan has tried, but there's been some really heavy mismanagement of the Olympics. If the Olympics should not happen, vaccines super slow, and working in person. A lot of people are working in person. It seems like remote jobs aren't really utilized here. So I hope Japan can utilize more technology. There are some safety precautions being taken at schools. As you can see here, kids still have to use this to sanitize their hands. It's not enforced though, and the sign behind here is asking, did you wash your hands? Did you take a morning bath? And do you have a mask? A lunchroom also has a sign that says, please don't sit together. Really? But still, at lunchtime, this whole room will be filled with kids eating. They're pretty close, and some of them aren't wearing masks because they're eating. It just seems like Japan takes like one step forward and two steps back when it comes to solving COVID and trying to take precautions. Like there'll be a precaution taken and then just immediately disregarded with some other non-safe or non-helpful situation. So I hope that we can get through this. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. So I hope stay safe and mask up and try our best. But I hope there can be some sort of implementation involved of online classes. I hope the vaccines can get rolled out faster. I hope the Olympics do not happen. I just hope that can happen. It's very, very frustrating. But thanks for watching this. I know it's kind of a tough topic, but that's a little update of what it's like at work. I haven't really been told how to get a vaccine. I don't know anyone who's gotten a vaccine here. No one's even really talking about it. I googled it, and we might get a coupon in the mail, but I think older citizens, 65, aren't even supposed to be finished until July, but a lot of websites are saying that's a huge, huge overstatement, so older people probably won't be done until September, and I think younger people like me won't get vaccinated until January, February of next year. So, well, we'll see. Everyone's just gonna try their best. So, yeah, what do you think? Should Japan have the Olympics? Should Japan roll out the vaccines faster? Let me know in the comments. And until then, see you next time.